Okay, guys, sorry for the delay. I had my family out there looking for stuff. So, I want to call the Town Council Workshop of July 30th, 2018 to order. I want to open the workshop to discuss and consider the following. Number one, discuss the funding, purchase, and enactment of an ordinance amendment for E911 locator signs to provide a means of locating residential, business, and other structures for expedient emergency responses by police, fire, rescue, and other emergency services. Chief Palmer, you have the floor.
I'd like to thank the Town Council for calling this workshop here. I'd also like to thank everybody here too, given their time here today. They also showed up on the 12th and the 26th, kind of a pre-meeting, kind of get an idea of what we want to bring forward here. Especially when I thank Sherry Jarvis. She really is the person that spearheaded this to begin with, and she's gone out and gotten placard places, done the ordinance and such, so she's done the lion's share of that. So I'm just going to kind of give you a brief description of what we would like to have happen here. And clearly, I don't think there's anybody in the room that doesn't believe that we need this this ordinance here. If you go around and try and find some of the houses in the town, it's difficult. Some people are very compliant, and then there's some people that are very deficient. And so there's clearly a need here, not only for the first responders, because seconds do count when you're trying to find a location when there's an emergency, but just for the average person trying to find a house in Hopkinton, and you may have driveways that may have 6 or 7 houses there. I'm not going to belabor the point, but I think it's well needed, and so I again thank Sherry for spearheading that. In the meetings that we had, and obviously there's two real major issues that we have, is I think we need to change the ordinance, because the ordinance that we had before did not have a real bite to it. It doesn't have a real enforcement. And unfortunately, while this is good for the average citizen, they don't always think of it that way until you need us, and then we can't find you. So you kind of sometimes want to force this down their throat, and you need that enforcement. We're hoping that everybody becomes compliant. I think you'll find some people that will be compliant, and some you'll have to kind of chase around. We're going to take the soft step to begin with. Enforcement maybe later on. The second part is really the funding, and that's always is an issue. And I know we talked to Chief Lee and Chief Scudato, and they believe they can come up with a certain amount of money, and the mindset was hoping that the town can come up with the third portion of that. And I'll let Sherry come up in a little while to kind of explain the ordinance a little bit, show the placards as well. But I think the placards really in the ordinance have to be the same, so that people aren't going out and getting 1-inch placards or 1-inch numbers, and others are getting the correct size there. So. The ordinance that she came up with gives an enforcement of $25, and that they give her about a 30-day reprieve to come and get it done. What we'd like to do is really get it out by Wesley Sun, get it out. Maybe Code Red, and I have to talk to the town manager and Ron McDonald about that. And then the social media is an inexpensive way of getting out there and hopefully get people compliant. The thought pattern was, if we go out and buy 1,000 placards, I think we came up with somewhere around 4,000 residents and businesses in town. If we went up at 1,000, the cost to the individual person is only going to be about $11, which is extremely cheap. Buying 1,000 saves us a little bit of money. We considered 500, but we also want enough on hand that if we do have an event where something like a rabies, people come out there on a certain day so that we don't inundate Sherry. Coming out every single day, she's in at work and having somebody coming in and getting the placard. So we'd like to have an event or so, get it out by the meeting. Once we get a certain amount of money back, then we want to go buy another 1,000. I know I'm being a little bit, I don't want to be naive about it, but it's like in the first week, we're going to have 1,000 people that have come in here and gotten them, but that's the game plan, and it may take a little bit of time. So, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. The money that we came up with was $3,368 was the one-third for each one of the.
Could you say that number again?
3368.
3,368.
Correct.
Yes, sir. Yeah, then Phil Scalise actually did an MOU, which I gave to Kevin McAllister for him to review. Obviously, you're going to want to review that as well. Explaining that in the event, in a perfect world, what would happen at the end of this, everybody has numbers out there, and everybody would be giving their money back because they would be paying for it. The residents would be paying for it. Wouldn't anyone count on it being put back in the coffers real quick, but in a perfect world, that would be the way it would go. And that MOU would describe exactly how that money would go back to each one of the entities. So that's kind of in a nutshell, and I'll offer Sherry a chance to come up and if you want to explain a little bit on the placards and on the ordinance.
Chief, just for my purposes, and I don't know anything about this, so can you just explain, I know it was in the drafts, if you're a certain amount of distance from the road, it requires different placement, right?
It used to be 50 and we changed it to 25. 50 is, especially at night, is difficult to see that. You also want these placards and numbers are reflective, so at night we're going to be able to see them. The design is actually to put them in an exact same spot for each one of the residents so that when a first responder is going there, you might have driveways right next to each other, and so there's always to the right of it, that first one is the one you're looking for.
So say like my house is more than 50 feet from the road. I'm number 3 Elizabeth Court. So where would I put some identifying?
And I think Cherry can talk to this a little bit more, but the way I look at it is really, you can have the numbers, and if you have a mailbox, you can put it on the numbers on your mailbox on either side of it, or you have a fence, or you can put a post up there attached to it.
So it's just another number 3 that looks different than the one I already have. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
But you have it on your house?
I do not have a number on my house, just the mailbox.
Okay.
Post, I have it on the mailbox post.
Right, okay. What the design is really is so that everybody's uniform is that you would get one of these new ones that's reflective and put it onto your post.
Yeah. Okay.
Didn't we do this decades ago, passing out reflective numbers to be Sylvia? You were on the council back then?
Yeah, I was thinking about it, and Jerry was there then. Yeah, you did it. It didn't cost the residents. You wanted them to have them and put them out.
They were pretty expensive, I would be peeled off the back.
I don't remember the cost.
I don't think it cost me anything, I think
Oh, I mean, the town paid for it.
Yeah, they would peel off things, you just stuff them on.
But I think there was also a grant in there. Does this sound familiar?
Well,
But anyway,
maybe to share.
residents did not pay.
Obviously.
Residents didn't pay, that was the point.
Right, well,
And Tom, I really, and I get your point as well, but I don't see $11 being real taxing on a resident. You can go to Home Depot and get those for $11. So it's a way to kind of streamline this and then get more money to go get more. It's not designed at all to make money for the town.
Oh, no.
Chief, what happens, you said on both sides of the mailbox, what if you have multiple mailboxes? How are you going to put them on either side? Because if hidden by the next mailbox.
Right, well, I mean, I think we're gonna have to have an individual idea and things like that. We had come up with maybe a post that people can put up there that says, if there's multiple driveways within one driveway is 3 to 25, and list the numbers there. I don't know that we can put into the ordinance exactly everything that you need to do, but we're more than happy to work with the residents. So if someone comes to me and says, hey, we have 3 of them coming here, we have mailboxes on either side, well, we'll come up with some idea how to do that. We're not looking to enforce them into doing this without some kind of solution.
Eva?
Yeah, I was taking a look at it too, because I have a small neighborhood, so they're all half-acre lots, not the 2-acre lots and the larger lots. And so in my neighborhood, most houses are going to be over 50 feet from the road, most of them. But I wasn't sure if it meant we had to put a whole new post, but if we can put it on the mailboxes, then everybody has a mailbox in smaller neighborhoods, and they can put them on either side, because they're generally not next to each other. However, a lot of the, because if it was, I know you said to the right of the driveway, we have driveways that are behind the front door or on the next road, faces one way, but the driveway is on a separate road. So if it's on the mailbox, then it makes sense for the small neighborhood, because we're close together. And it isn't, and I know they're supposed to be, I'm interested in seeing them, because 12 inches, 6 by 12 is pretty big. That's pretty big, but I might be just seeing it wrong, and certainly a mailbox is big enough to handle a 6-inch number without a problem.
That's what we're looking at. I think really the intention behind the ordinance was to, as far as putting it to the right side, was more for the houses with the long driveways, where you have 3 or 4 driveways, and then on the opposite side are the mailboxes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really more to establish a system, so emergency responders all know, fire, rescue, ambulance, they know, okay, there's no question, it's on the right of that access drive. We know this is where we need to be.
And indeed, if the driveway is not there, it would be in a smaller neighborhood, because I understand on a big driveway, but in a small, because Sweet
Valley, that's
Sweet
where I
Valley
am.
Estates, they're all half-acre lots, so these are pretty large to have, start feeling like,
And I understand what you're saying, Barb.
yeah.
And I think that's where that comes into play, where if the house is further away,
Yeah, I can understand, that's a 3-inch letter.
that's a 3-inch.
The letters themselves are 3 inches, which would fit easily on a mailbox.
Absolutely.
Reflective, but not a metal piece.
That's just for long distance.
Right, exactly.
So
This
you
is
do
not,
it differently for the smaller mailbox.
we don't want to see these on the mailboxes that are across the street from the access drive.
Right.
Or even-
That's not what we want.
Right, but
So actually, the price is gonna go up, because now you're gonna require them to get a post, put in the ground, and concrete it in, or whatever. That thing is just huge.
We can go smaller, we can get quotes on smaller signs, but this was getting the feedback from emergency response that they want to be able to see it, they want to be able to see it at night.
I'm just saying, how do you do it on a mailbox?
They have hardware kits you can purchase.
Oh, you mean on the mailbox post?
Oh.
Absolutely.
Do you have a smaller one?
If the
Don't
post
you
is
have a
wood,
small one?
Do you have a
post is
small
metal,
one?
if we're jammed up.
Yeah, don't you have a small one? I mean, like, I'm
We can
number
look at
8.
a small.
Do you have a small one with you, Sharon?
Do you have-
Not with
Oh,
you, no, it's just the
So-
only sample I have.
So like if you have a single number, it can be 8 with a gap, that hole, and it can be on the mailbox post.
Post.
If the post is wood.
Or if it's metal, I think you can do it with metal.
What are those made out
And I
of?
think also that has to go in conjunction with what we're proposing in the ordinance also, trying to establish a uniform system for these emergency responders.
I don't
Telling
know.
people they have to put these on their mailbox if it's across the street or it's, in a row of mailboxes is not going to do any good for responders. We're trying to establish a system so the respondents will see this, that if there are one of the more rural roads, where there's not a lot of lighting, and not every driveway is numbered, where they're gonna know right away where they're going.
Right.
Sylvia has a question.
I'm wondering if, okay, you have the larger ones for far away, so when the ambulance is going down the street, they can say, oh, there it is, and they can see it, you know? But my question has to do with the individual, where it gets complicated, where you have a number of driveways, where it's not the mailbox right there on the same side, the right side of the street, and it's all simple. I'm wondering if, how is this going to be done? And I was thinking about different things. Maybe the employees should be involved. Do we want the public works to be involved? Who's going to put the post in? Are they going to do it right? Are they going to put it on the right side? So it may be that we either have public works do a section or roads, certain roads. Maybe every Saturday they work in a certain section and then they do another section. Because it is complicated more than it was in the past. So how are we going to get them to do if Public Works? That's right. If Public Works is going to do it, you either do it during work hours, or you decide that we're going to set aside some money. We're going to have someone do it, maybe a police officer and someone with Public Works. I mean, really. People are concerned because people knock on the doors, we know, in Oak Valley, and they pretended to have something to do with the water system, and they broke in and robbed the place. So you're gonna need somebody to approach a house, I believe, to talk to them so it's done right. And there are elderly and handicapped.
That's exactly right. Elderly people.
Absolutely, and they'd like to be able to offer that help.
People
What do we
have
think?
to put their mail at the post office.
Well, you get post office boxes, people,
Yeah.
and that's a jam, that's a joke.
So I'm just wondering,
Well, I think
Or
maybe
post
that's
office.
getting beyond what we were actually thinking about. It really comes down to money, and it depends on how much money we're able to put into this.
Right, although the other thing is, I mean, I think everyone has agreed that we need to do something about it. I think that's correct. But if you have stickums that are that size, 3 inches, and, you know, that are reflective, that the town can buy, that we can put on mailboxes, it's easy for us to do that. There are certainly the more difficult ones where you have to put in a post, that maybe it's another way. But there are easy ways to do it too, because you're right, it needs to be done, but we need to be able to do it effectively.
And then the fire departments have also offered
Yes, I was wondering if
volunteers
they could help.
to go out there and help with the elderly. But if you want to go a little bit further than that, then I'm sure we can kind of come up with something.
okay, or the ambulance, whoever it is that wants to help with this, it might be a stipend that goes their way to, for their time.
So if somebody has a long drive and there's plenty of them with no mailbox, and the driveway's 200 feet long, could they put them on a tree? I don't know.
Well, this is what we're proposing, something uniform in those instances, especially that these guys will all recognize.
Like a metal stake.
Put it to the right, whether it's on a tree or a fence
Those are
post, to the
reasonable.
right of the access drive. It's a system, they will all know it and understand it. And like it says in the ordinance, whether it's on a post, on a tree, on a fence, just so long as it's to the right of the access drive.
And high enough so that the snow.
To be visible from both sides, both directions.
Because the only thing in like small neighborhoods that during the winter is your post box is always open. That's the only thing you're going to see, otherwise it's piled around all the driveways.
True.
So there would have to be several different ways of accomplishing it.
Some people aesthetically may not want it on.
Absolutely.
They may not want,
We
if
have
they sign a waiver, maybe that's, and I don't know if you can really force them, but.
Well, if they don't want it, then it goes out to the front of the property, it doesn't go on their house, I mean,
That's what they call it.
What if they
And
say-
that's why there were two different drafts to this
Yeah, I think there
ordinance.
should be
I
some
proposed
waiver.
the first without the specific description. The second draft has a specific description, based on the council's pleasure as to whether you want to go with this size sign or not. First draft is not specific, it just basically says visible from both directions of the road with reflective color contrasting numbers.
At this point, I'm certainly more happier with the draft 1 than draft 2, just because I know in small neighborhoods, it would be like being in prison cells, you know? Like, I mean, literally, it's only going to be 200 feet apart. Although I do understand the need for it on a tree or something on a very long drive because you can't see that way. So I think there needs to be different ways that we can address it. If there are different sizes and different ways that people can try to be compliant, because I think people would understand they need to do that. We just have to give them some alternatives on how to accomplish it, even if the long driveways are always on the right, that's understandable. But in small neighborhoods, driveways are on the side. They're not even at the house, they're on the wrong road.
Oh, I have two. I have a U-shaped driveway, so I understand what you're saying. And we did have that discussion that we weren't sure how people would feel about this, maybe a smaller sign, and that possibly, if I got quotes on that, might even be more cost effective to get some smaller signs.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a need for it.
Oh, yeah.
Am I wrong to assume, and I'm not really up on this, I'm behind the curve for sure, that can't we set up a program, when I go on a trip, I pump in like my GPS, where I want to go, and where I am, and it gets me right to that spot. Can't we get something going in that regard so that we know where every single house is for every address? And so if they say, hey, 8 Meadowlark Lane or some number, all we have to do is have emergency responders, whether it's the fire department, ambulance, the police, pump in that address and immediately know, because it's supposed to be very accurate, where 8 Meadowlark Lane is. Rather than putting signs.
They're semi-accurate, but you also recognize there's dead spots in the area there. But I don't know if you've ever driven and your GPS takes you around in a circle and you come back the same
Well,
way.
yeah.
That's like when your GPS or FedEx, there's no real time issue, but when you're either fire department, ambulance, or police,
Right.
you can't rely on it just on the GPS.
Yeah, you don't think that you can get that accuracy?
And not only that, but you gotta recognize some of these houses you're looking for are way in the woods there.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have one driveway that's split off in many different directions.
Right.
One might go straight up here, and one may go veer that way. We're looking for the quickest response, and really, we've had times where we're wasting 5 to 10 minutes looking for
Oh,
an
sure.
address. And the GPS, unfortunately, is just not as accurate
Yeah.
as you want it.
Ronnie, what did we purchase at the fire district? 4 years ago, the computers for the fire trucks, so that you guys could punch it in and see what the house looks like before you...
That was actually a long time ago, and it didn't pan out. We don't even have them anymore.
Really?
Yeah. This, I don't think, I mean this with no disrespect whatsoever, but you need to go out at 2 o'clock in the morning. Some of these rural roads, let us give you an address, let's see how you find it.
Yeah.
Black.
Yeah. That, I mean, you say that sign's big. That sign's not that big.
On a rural road, it's not. That's true.
Even in your neighborhood, Barbara, there's plenty of houses we have to go in there where it's not marked well, and we're wasting time finding them.
Oh, I think we need to be marked, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, these signs, I think being hung up on the side is just not a non-issue. The average person can't tell you where the telephone pole is in front
Or
of
their
their house.
septic system sometimes.
But my point being is, once you got a uniform thing like this going and everybody has them up, you're not even gonna pay attention to them anymore. You won't even know they're there. We'll know they're there because that whole sign's reflecting. If we come down the road, we're gonna see that thing 100 yards away. And then we get closer, we'll be able to read the numbers, but it's, we're not gonna waste any time if somebody's house is burning down or medical. Or if somebody's trying to break in their house and the chief's guys need to get there in an awful lot. I mean, it's gonna help everybody across the board.
And another thing, I think, just in the Hope Valley Fire Chief, Rockville doesn't have mailboxes. So there's an area where they don't have very poor signage. So if you go up there, if you go on Spring Street, that's a long stretch. So, there might be a house that's, half a mile, and you don't know if it's, 340 or 365 or,
So how you gonna, I thought we saw something in here for the larger lots, if they get divided up. How are you gonna set this up so, for future development, so that you'll be able to plug that sign in You know, if you're, like we're going down Main Street, you got 1, 2, 3, and then you got like a triple lot, and then you got 4, 5, 6 down. I mean, and then someone comes in to divide that lot up. How do
It's
you
based on frontage, you do it, what, every 100 feet you put one, I forget what.
Well,
that
that's
is.
for the addresses to assign a number.
Right, right.
Right, but I think basically if it comes down
Same
to, we say, we set up a uniform system and say, okay, it goes to the right of the drive, no matter how that lot is subdivided.
Oh, okay, all right.
Right,
When we,
But what about
3A, 3B, and 3C, if there's no numbers in between, if they subdivide it, you'd have to do that anyway.
right. So that's why we thought putting it to the right of the actual access for that structure itself would make the most sense.
So how do you think you should get the word out? I mean, obviously, on social media, putting this on, I don't know. It doesn't seem like people are gonna race
Well, we always
race
thought
today
that
and get it set up, but maybe I'm wrong.
maybe have establishing like a campaign
Yeah.
for it, some type of campaign, and, you know, when we get everything settled and the ordinance is ready, you know, the way the council wants to see it, once it's adopted, then start a campaign for it and have those days, as Chief indicated, where, okay, great, the 2 fire districts are gonna be open, pick up your numbers, you know, you could go so far as to do something, you know, like a hashtag kind of thing, I got my number. There's a lot of ways you could approach it, and I think marketing is a huge thing when it comes to this and getting the message out to the public. It's only for their benefit, really is what it comes down to.
And you don't really think there's any way that we can not do a metal sign, but just put it on the mailboxes that we already have, in posts we already have, that would have, you know, single or double numbers?
I think that's fine for those houses
For
that,
small lots, yeah.
right, that are in small lots and their mailbox is right there at their drive.
Right.
I think that's fine for those houses, absolutely. I think really what we're trying to accomplish to start off with, hey, we gotta crawl before we can walk, and I think the thing that we're trying to establish now is at least get a system looking at these houses that are on the more rural roads. You know, I don't think it's an issue with that, you know, you're going through Hope Valley and you have the houses that are 15 feet off the road. That's really not what we're talking about at this point. It's more to at least establish a system, get something rolling for those houses that are on Tomaquat Road, that are on Canonchit Road, up in that area, that don't have the mailboxes, that don't have the proper signage that they should have.
Because I do think it's really, if there's any way we can do stickers that are that big and reflective and can go in the mailboxes, I think a lot of the smaller neighborhoods would be very open to that pretty quickly, and that should be cheap. And then money can be spent and time spent on the roads that are far more difficult.
I have I'm going to be putting one up at my house, and there's a neighbor that's a few houses up from me that has had one, 72, the Richards. They've had this size out there for probably the past, well, I've been there 28 years, probably the past 20 years. You honestly don't even notice it anymore. And I actually look at it and I think to myself as I drive by, I'm like, oh, good for them.
It's a standalone, it's a
Yeah,
standalone.
it's a standalone, it's to the right of their driveway. And I think that's what made me think of it was, you know, oh, okay, there's no questioning what the number to that house is. There's no question on the identification of it.
The other way of getting out, and we've discussed this as well, is we go to enough houses between the fire department, the police department, and the ambulance corps, is when we go there, most of the time we have frequent flyers, is that we're going there many times in a month, is to be the sales pitch at that point. So here's the time to sell it. We had trouble getting here. We lost 2 minutes getting here. Next time there might be a problem. So those are things that we can get word of mouth. And I think once you see it throughout the town, I think more and more people will abide by it. And then there will be a time where some people just may not want to do it, and then we may have to try and be nicely force it to them.
And just another thing, you know, like yesterday, we were all tied up that big fire, and we had an engine from Hopkinton at our quarters. So I mean, we've got a pretty good idea of our, well, in a situation like that, we've got them usually coming out of town, they've got no idea about anything. So,
Yeah, right. Yeah, Bill, you had a question?
Is it $11 per sign, is that the cost?
Correct. With the numbers.
And how much do the poles cost?
I was gonna say, that's not an exorbitant amount.
No.
I mean, if
We
that's,
didn't
if
get
the
it for
cost,
something. I'm sorry, Bill.
if the cost is $11 per sign, and it's gonna be divided by 3 separate agencies, I mean, you're talking about $11,000, maybe divided by 3.
Yes, 10,104 for the initial.
I mean, that's not an exorbitant amount of money. I mean, if you're gonna, my own personal opinion is that, you know, if you're gonna pass an ordinance and put an obligation on the people, I mean, you might want to consider perhaps paying.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
Oh, no, I agree.
just a thought. And what that's gonna do is they're gonna be much more willing to come forward
To do it.
with a sign.
Sure,
We did the same thing with the water line. We paid 50 of those water meters, which is very expensive. There's no way we would have ended up
No.
completing that project.
It would get in the house.
Yeah.
That's true.
How much is it? Oh, okay.
So, I mean,
I'm not
my own personal opinion, if you're gonna make it an obligation pursuant to an ordinance, it's only $11 divided by 3 agencies. You might want to consider maybe just.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
And just remember though, that's only the first round.
Right,
though. It's
right.
gonna get,
It's still, it's not, overall, it's not really that quite, I think we can make an investment in the
So,
public, I think.
are you thinking, are you recommending that we get those larger signs and only the smaller ones if it goes on a mailbox? Is that what you're thinking?
We hadn't discussed it, actually, with that.
I mean, it's open to you, I mean,
Right.
you're the ones that make the
But if
decision.
you
I
look
mean,
into it, I appreciate it, because I'm sure I can go around my whole neighborhood and say, this is what we're doing. Put this on, here's your number. My husband's behind you.
But they have to, in conjunction with that, understand the true motive behind this is to identify that access drive.
Actually, it doesn't make any difference in small neighborhoods. They're already right by the driveway. They're right by the driveway in front of the house. So I would just tell people, just you have to do it.
Well, sure, we're not just gonna sell the, if somebody wants to put the numbers on their mailbox post or their mailbox themselves, the thinking is we're not gonna sell, we're still gonna sell some kind of a metal sign, or can they just get some numbers and stick it on their mailbox?
They're trying to be uniform, Dave, I think
Yeah,
that's the whole.
we
prefer.
And it has to be on the right side of the road too, many of the mailboxes are across the road,
Right.
so.
Right.
The whole point of this is so these folks can find these, I mean, you start having, Mr. Smith's got it, inside the mailbox, this one's got it on the tree, I mean, just
Sometimes if you
different
want it
sizes.
uniform, other than the mailbox or on their house, you have to, the town has to do it or oversee it.
But it's also, they are reflective, and they were saying, you can see them way away. So if you have them anywhere near the front of your driveway, you should be able to see them because they are extremely reflective, is my understanding, reasonably. So I don't see where that's a problem if they're somewhere near that, in a small neighborhood. The big rural roads are a different story.
And when they go in the ground, I would assume that they're still on town property. We're not going on their property to put a post in it because there's so much land that goes with the road. I wonder how far in.
You have to go in a little bit ways because
Yeah,
look at the mailboxes that get taken out when they plow.
right.
There's nothing, they can't do
Yeah, right.
about that.
Yeah, just a comment. I was involved with Westerly's ordinance back probably 18 years ago when we redid all this, and I haven't seen this one, so pardon me, I don't know if this is in there, but Westerly is just saying, no, they have a 4-inch requirement, and it has to be a contrasting color, and they use 50 feet, which this was, I believe you said, was 25. They didn't mandate the use of a sign like this, but as long as it's anything that was 50 feet from the house had to be on a post or a mailbox, and a contrasting color or reflective. So maybe if people's aesthetics, the problem with aesthetics, maybe you could purchase these and use them more as people with a hardship, or the elderly, or whatever else, if they don't want that. But that's just another option to do too. But I haven't seen this one, but I think it's important that you have a consistent height, a contrasting reflective color, and the distance. So if somebody doesn't want, they want a blue reflective and not a green one, as long as it's the same 3 inches or 4 inches, and it's here where it's supposed to be, that could be kind of a give and take too.
Yep. Yeah, as far as the fire district, you guys okay with splitting a third, a third, and a third on this?
We were on the first 10,000, but when we get into more than that, we could do it, but we'd have to do it
How much do you think it would be in
I
total?
don't think we need that many, right? There's
There's
only 30.
4,000 homes, we're only buying 1,000
Right.
for the first go around.
So
So it could be $12,000 a piece
Yeah,
by the time we're done.
right. You okay with that or not?
I don't have that allocated right now, but I'm not thinking that it's time sensitive either.
No.
Yeah,
So-
we could actually add it to the budget next year.
Oh, I see. What about you, Justin?
I don't see any problem with that, I mean.
Do you,
I don't discuss it with my board of directors, but maybe.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
Yeah, my board of directors was on board for it. We have a fund right now that we can use, but it doesn't have that kind of money in it. So, the first 1,000, we got no problem.
I wonder what you think about the numbers that are used now. So people have, like, I have a mailbox, but not on both sides, just when you're coming down the street. But I can't even think, aren't they gold and black? Is that what you remember?
That's what I remember.
Gold and black?
Yeah, gold and black.
So we would want people to take that off, because you want it to be uniform. Or do you want that to stay?
I think the white is a really good idea because it's very obvious no matter what color the background is. And whether it's on a mailbox or a post, depending on your road, I don't see a problem. But I think the white on green or white is the best choice if you really want to see it. And you said they're reflective, they're fully reflective.
And I don't think there's a problem with those numbers staying in the mailbox, as we said. And bear in mind, we're not trying to identify the mailbox, we're trying to identify where the access drive is. So depending on where, currently people have their mailboxes located. Mine is across the street from my house, and it's next to my neighbor who is number 64. And one part of my driveway actually ends up being across from her driveway. She only has one access to hers, I have two accesses to mine. I could very easily put that 63 on my mailbox. It's a 50-50 chance, you're guessing which house it is. It's either mine or the one across the street. But I'd rather see it, obviously, if we establish the system to the access, to the right of the access drive. That's what these guys need to get to. They don't need to know where the mailbox is. They don't need to know what the house looks like. They need to know where the access drive is to this structure, where exactly I'm going. And I can understand, like you were saying, 2 o'clock in the morning and you're on an adrenaline rush trying to find something. You can't see a number in there.
It's dark.
This is going to jump out at you and you're going to see that.
And having them all labeled in sequence makes it easy, because as you're going down the road, okay, 65, okay, I'm looking for 69. Sometimes, you've got 25 and 30, now I'm past it, so it can get.
I think it's also people aesthetically, when they bought a house like I did, and most of my neighbors would get a brass, something really pretty brass by the door. The problem is it darkens. So, having something on your mailbox that is very reflective is probably a really good idea. That way they can leave what they have on the house. It's 50 feet away, but at least they can have it.
Sure,
obviously,
that's
right by their driveway.
So those numbers right there are what, how tall?
3 inches?
Those are 3-inch letters,
3-inch.
numbers.
The number's high?
And we have up to 4 numbers on houses.
So,
And you can fit 4 on that sign, because you
Okay.
can obviously use it vertically or horizontally.
so if we require the 3 inches on the mailboxes, I mean, this, in my house, I need 3 of these. And that would look, because it's 3 apartments. A, B, and C.
The
So,
main number,
what's that?
you have a main number.
Yeah, 11.
And
And how
11
Same driveway?
identifies the
2
structure.
driveways. So, minimum might need 2 of these.
Well,
That's why I'm thinking if
So how would you do it in this instance?
I have to see the driveway, so your separate
I
driveway
have a
accesses
driveway on
the
top of the hill
apartments.
and the driveway below the hill.
The driveway below accesses the apartments?
That's correct. Yep.
And you're 11A, I would assume?
Yes.
11A at that driveway, 11B/D, B/C.
Because my mailbox isn't near my driveway. Or any of the tenants. That's what I asked them thing about the multiple mailboxes, because they're stacked. So when
mail person comes, they're right there and they drop everything.
Sherry said, I think you'd have to do it case by case on things
But
like that.
what I'm getting at is something, as long as we have a post that has the same one, things uniform. If we're gonna put 3-inch letters in the mailboxes, then we should be able to put a post with the 3-inch letter dictating that instead of something like this.
Then it's not uniform.
Why, your mailboxes are gonna have a 3-inch letter on it?
You guys are hung up on the mailboxes, we're not. We're
Well,
hung
if-
up on the placement of the sign. We
That's
don't
right.
care about the mailbox. Your mailbox, like Sherry said, can be on the other side of the street, that doesn't help us now.
But those are the ones that do have it next to, on the right side.
If the mailbox is in the proper spot, fine.
Yeah.
Screw that to it, we can see it from both sides, coming up both sides of the
I
street.
think so, but the people are going to not want to do that for their own property and their own home. I mean, mine happens to be on the left-hand side. My next door neighbor is on the left as well, but it's, 50 feet away from the house. So we have to get some, I know you want to be precise, but when you have small neighborhoods, not the big ones, I understand your big road problem, but in a small neighborhood, it's a different kind of problem. And aesthetically, people aren't going to want to put a separate post, on the right, and that's costly, both for the people, the citizens, and for the town.
If we pay for the cost, it's not going to cost.
With the post?
With a post, I'm sorry, it's
I'm just
expensive.
saying, I think it's a good idea to not pass it on.
Can't be a wooden post either.
It's not that expensive, like $13.5 each entity.
With a post,
Well,
and
not without
time?
those, no.
and then time for manpower.
They're not going to probably do it by themselves.
So-
We'll have to talk about it, but I think at the end of the day, we can go through a million scenarios, we're never going to come to any conclusion. I think as far as the funding, we have to sort of come up with an idea if we're okay with doing it ourselves, splitting it with the districts, or passing some cost on to the borrowers, excuse me, that might work, onto the residents.
I mean, I think it's I do think that Mr. McGuire is right, that if we can afford to do it, we should pay for the numbers for people. I think they should put it on their own houses. I think they should do the work. But paying for the actual product, I think the town should do. But it seems to me some of the houses, and any number of the houses, they may not be precisely at 4 feet or 6 feet because you've got snow. To be precise on which tree you put it on, it seems like they'll have some flexibility in that.
And they might have a little flexibility based on ordinance, and that's where that comes into play. If there's something that we could do, what we're trying to do really is, like I said, establish uniformity. So these are recognized as emergency response numbers, period. As far as subdivisions, maybe there's something that we could look at where we could say, okay, if this is a subdivision, they're all on half-acre lots, maybe we can get a small version of this.
And I think they can do the work themselves. I don't think that's so difficult for most of the homeowners.
So we've got 3 methods. You put it on both sides of the mailbox, 3-inch, if you can get to both sides of the mailbox. And if you can't do your mailbox because it's not on the right, it's not to the right of the driveway, it's somewhere else across the street or to the left, then you have to post it. Or you put a big one on your house if you can see from the driveway to the house. So it might be that, I mean, if I was doing it, I'd rather have a post in the proper
I
spot.
would think the post would be more uniform, because otherwise, these guys are gonna be coming down the road, and if it's not out in front, by the road, they're gonna have like
Still gonna have
the
to
lights, they're gonna have lights shining out the side so they can hit the reflection as it goes by the door of the house.
And that's the existing ordinance.
Yes,
That already
yes.
is stated in the existing ordinance, whether it's on a post, fence, or
Well,
wall.
it all
So
depends.
you guys already have that in the existing ordinance.
So you got a price for that
You're gonna
post?
put it on a 4x4 post, or
Did
you're
not
gonna put it
price
on a
them
decorative
out.
Is
post?
it metal?
Or is it a?
Just think metal.
I can
Gotta be
first
metal.
email, yeah, you can get a price
I
on
just
it.
want to be able to bang it in the ground.
Right.
So a metal post with the,
That won't be that expensive to buy that.
I just think we
I don't
should go
think
with a
so.
smaller.
yeah,
I was actually surprised that this company has been wonderful, and for the past 3 years about this time, they have been quoting me every year. The quotes are only good for 3 days. And the last time I talked to Tomlin, who I'm getting quotes from, I tried 911, because of the tariffs now. I was honestly expecting these prices to be through the roof, and they're really not off from what they were at this time last year,
So
which is
far.
good. I think
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So just to kind of circle back on the funding, you guys okay with trying to have the town deal with this cost, I guess?
If we're gonna make it mandatory, I don't think we should.
Right, it's not that
And
expensive.
we can begin it with this year's budget, but we'll have to put in money, because we're obviously, I don't think there's any money hiding around in any closets. We're gonna have to put it in next year's budget, but we could start the process.
And I think too, if we find out what the post is and, you know, the small numbers or the large numbers, as long as they're consistent.
And I would do a kind of piecemeal, like, you know, Bethel Village, for example, or a certain section of town, start with something like that, and see how it goes. You know, see what the response is, you know, what the problems do, you know, the problem's gonna crop up, and what are we gonna do about the situation? And then we have a good idea, then you'd have a good idea as to how things will progress in the future.
Reactions.
That's right, well, reaction.
I think you start right down Route 3.
You know what I'd like to ask? I'd like to ask the folks that are the first responders, what area of town, if we were gonna start it with a limited amount of money and then we'd have to use next year's budget, where would you want us to start? Is there some place you see continuous
I
problems?
like Dave's idea, we start, do a few on a real rural street, and do some in Sweet Valley Estates,
Yeah, I
or,
mean, they've all, each area town's got its own problems. I mean, where the houses are close to they're not numbered, it's a difficult thing, but I mean, it's.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be a learning experience. And as you learn, you can say, okay, this is how we're gonna deal with it in the future. Instead of trying to do it townwide right off the bat, and you get problems here, Hope Valley, Rockville, Ashland, wherever. Try it in that section. Like say, Barbara's neighborhood, for example, then you gotta, and then try it in a more rural section too. And
Bennet
then-
Hill Road or
Yeah.
Woodville Road or Woodville
Sure.
Walton or something.
You're not doing Sylvia, you know,
Well, it's a dead end, it's a little bit of a street.
Yeah, but you got houses that are off the.
They know where we
off
are,
driveways, yeah.
most of the time.
Prospect
Except for
Square,
the
yeah, Prospect
truck
Square.
from Pawtucket.
that does save us a lot of time, you know,
Yeah.
knowing the people.
Yeah.
Like, we wouldn't be any trouble finding your house.
it's
But some of my guys wouldn't know where you live.
Right.
Or a fire truck from Pawtucket, not gonna
Right.
use
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, I had North Stonian, my station, he had Pawtucket. The North Stonian's over here a lot, so they're more familiar with Ashway.
Mhm.
But Pawtucket had no idea what anything in his town was.
No, I think it's a good point.
All right, so it
Either
sounds
one.
But they had Hope Valley and North Westerly there, covering there. So, I mean, and medical, you know, Vince County, someone's had a heart attack or, you know, so.
sounds like we're okay, I guess, with trying to proceed with that on the cost end, at least initially, right? Now, what about enforcement, I guess, I know that was the other concern.
Yeah.
You know, if we bear the cost of it, and along with the districts, you know, I guess it would probably be a lot easier for them to comply, but if for some reason they don't want to comply, maybe there's some kind of waiver that we would have to sign, I don't know. I don't know that you can really force somebody, if they say, I want to remain anonymous for obvious, whatever reason, that would be their right, but I don't know. I think we'll cover that to some degree, not in a wide spread area, but
I think there'll be more people that are gonna be initially, I don't wanna do it because they can't, and they just don't wanna say it. Maybe they live alone and they're just not capable. So it'll be important whenever and however we decide to contact our residents, that on a piece of paper, they've got the fact sheet, and they can see where they fit in, and a number to call if you can't do it.
I have people that'll just say no,
So we'll be.
Oh, yeah.
just for whatever reason. You
That's
know.
why they
They
look down
don't
the
register to
road.
vote, and they just
Right.
don't care.
Absolutely.
So, you know, we just, you know, I don't think you can.
Well, then
really-
maybe we just put one up at the end of their
I
property.
don't think that's.
No.
I
No?
don't
No?
agree with that, no.
Sylvia, you know what, we'll be down the next night.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's not the
that's
same
your
night.
point, yeah.
Anyway, so maybe we can work on that, you know, like I said, I don't want to make it overbearing and that cost folks a lot of money, but I think we need to address at some point, some kind of waiver if they opt to not have it at all. But it still doesn't help you guys, but.
But even by our existing ordinance, it states that they have to have a 911 number posted. So whether it's this one or the number of their choosing, the style of their choosing, whatever they want to do, it does state that they do have to have a 911 number. posted for emergency response.
I think,
I mean, if you want to go, obviously go through the draft, any language that you'd like to change or anything, you know, what I would get things coming in from the police, from Hope Valley Fire, from Ashway Fire, from the ambulance corps, saying, hey, listen, Sherry, we went out the other night, we couldn't find this place, we couldn't find the driveway, took us 10 minutes to get in there, make a notation. I write a letter and I send it out to them. Please post your 911 number, you know, very nice letter, telling them the importance of having their number posted so emergency response can find you.
yeah.
I'd go and check it a week later, I'd go and check it a month later, nothing changes, nothing's done. And there's nothing that I can do with the existing ordinance to say, you really need to have one up. You know, our ordinance says you have to have one, but there's nothing I can do about it if you don't put one up.
Keeping something in there for a $25 fine, this gives us the ability to say, listen, we can charge you $25. We don't necessarily have to do that, but without that little bit of bite, it doesn't give us any holdover. And many of them, when you hear that, I might get a fine of $25, they'll succumb to it. It might save their life.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you.
Or Frank could be right, and they can sign a waiver saying, you know, you do not mind if no one is there, fire or ambulance.
What's your next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a whole harmless for the town.
Frank, you don't think you can enforce it, but in Westerly, you have to shovel the sidewalk you don't own.
Right.
And they do enforce it, and they've challenged it and lost. So
Who challenged it and who lost?
Residents.
the residents tried to challenge it.
Right,
In Westerly, the sidewalk, you're responsible for shoveling in front of your property,
right.
whatever that is.
So Westerly can still enforce that, is what you're
Oh,
saying?
they enforce it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, right, I'm just thinking out loud, you know, some of the people I know, but.
I mean, this wasn't meant to be controversial.
right.
We're, you know, we're
No, I know.
more than glad to go out and help anybody that says they can't do it themselves. We got guys that will go do it, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree, Chief, if there's a little bit of something in there, because obviously the current ordinance doesn't have any enforcement authority, so, or any repercussions, I guess, if they don't comply, so. Yeah, it's fairly minor, so. I guess we can figure out the logistics, you know, anyway. So where do we go from here, I guess, just work on more logistics and cost and.
Absolutely, I think first order would be to really look through the ordinance. Obviously, have Attorney McAllister take a look at it.
And
See if that's the direction you want to go in with this.
See what the cost is and see where you want to start and say, this is the trial balloon, and this is what the trial balloon costs. And this is where we want to do it in Hope Valley and Nashua.
Well, we pretty
First
much
one's
have
in your house.
that worked out.
I'm sorry?
You
The
know,
first one's in your house.
Sure, let's do it.
Look it up for
Sherry, you know what I would like to see? Rather than having that vertical, I think the numbers would look more better horizontal. So they're not sticking way up in the air, they're still reflective, but they're only that wide of signs instead of something that's,
Well, then that's the way we read,
Yeah.
you know, so.
you know, so that would take some of that.
It's tough
Then
to
again-
put it on a poster.
I was gonna say, then again, something, Frank's right, you can put that on your mailbox post by screwing two screws in this way, but you can't do it that way.
Yeah.
Even with a metal post, you can't do it horizontal.
Oh, so I guess we need to stay vertical then.
I would think.
You'd have to order this way and this way, and it's more complicated.
Trees too. Trees go like this.
Yes.
So, you know,
Whatever
I do have a few
decide, I
things.
think it should be uniform. And then that's ultimately what we were looking for, was something that was uniform and identifiable. That's the 911 side, that's the access drive. We're going there,
Yeah.
that's where we're gonna go.
So Sherry, and the cost that you're gonna find out, I guess just, you're gonna find out about the post, right? That's the only, cost you haven't really calculated.
Right, that's the only thing that wasn't calculated. What, like I said, what that included, it wasn't a hardware kit or anything with it, it was a drilled sign
Pre-drilled.
with their numbers, pre-drilled their numbers, so, yeah, in essence, you could put it on,
Mailbox post.
right there, on the mailbox
Yep.
post, right.
And if you are a one letter, like 8 or 12, can you do 1 and 2 rather than the whole 3?
You want the wall sign?
possibility, I'm wondering about that, how you guys would feel if we looked into something for those places that are a one-digit number, because this is a big sign.
And
For one digit, I mean, you would ultimately be looking at, say it was 9.
even if it's one digit house, you could do it as a double-digit sign. Just make a double-digit and a triple-digit sign. Because you don't need a single
That
necessarily.
doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about?
Because
Besides the depth of the sign,
the depth,
it's gonna be 12 inches, it could be 8 inches.
Exactly.
And it
It might
might
be
be cheaper.
That's what I
You know, I
was
was just
thinking. when we were
thinking
discussing
this-
I'll
guys.
save money.
If we have signs for the house and small ones for the mailbox, you're not gonna know how many to order. You only have, Lawton Foster is 33, number 33. So you're gonna, gee, we gotta buy signs, are we gonna buy them because we think Lawton Foster's gonna put them on the road, or do they need the small ones, 33? So you can't make a mistake.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it does get complicated.
I think.
So you need to have them all the uniform size, I guess, for that reason alone. How
Maybe
can
you
you,
can
how
cut
can
this
you
one
make it
down.
work? You don't know.
You get 50 of each, and then when you start running out of one size, you get another 25.
No, well, I just meant for a house, if it's number 33, does she order a big one? Or does she order it for the mailbox? Does she go and look first?
When they come in to get their sign, you say, what are you gonna do with the sign? They're gonna put it in my mailbox. My number's 33.
Well, I think it'll probably be on the post, but I think you can do a two-digit one and a three-digit one. You don't have to do a single.
How about we get a place on 6 inches and get the numbers 2 inches, and then, so they're all still uniform, but they will accommodate anywhere from
3 digits, 4
From
digits,
one
down
to
to
4
4
digits.
digits, right?
and probably a little cheaper.
And I would cut that from 12 to 6.
To 6.
But that's fine. That would
That's
be
just,
good.
that's,
I think
that's
that would
just
be good.
huge.
It's a good
I
sign.
think if it goes down to 6 though, this is
I think
8.
we're talking about 8.
That's
This is what, this is,
This is 8.
oh, this is 8, so we're going to 6 inches.
Mhm.
That's,
All right, I can get some quotes.
Just
Yeah,
make the small
absolutely.
one.
That's it.
I think this is,
as long as those numbers are out at the road,
6 by 12. I'm sorry.
as long as those numbers are out at the road, they're all identical.
Right, same
What
size.
each number is gonna reflect just as much as a monstrosity one. And everybody's gonna have it out there, it's all gonna be in numerical order. So I would think most residents would rather have a smaller sign and be more apt to put it up than something like that. I mean, when you go down the road and then bang, 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 it's everything's in line. It's still gonna, when you're at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's still gonna glow up. So,
he's going to be looking for the private anyway.
Ronnie,
I think what you ought to let us do is, let us go back, we'll get a couple of different sizes of these signs, and then the 5 agencies will get together, we'll hang a couple at night, and we'll see which ones we can see the best.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
And then we'll tell you what we can live with and what we can't.
All right.
sounds good. Good idea.
Yeah, we want you to tell us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
'cause, I'm thinking when you get down to 1 inch, Tommy, that's gonna be hard for us to see.
Yeah.
Well, I just figured, I mean, if you're gonna have, like in Margaret's neighborhood, or everything's gonna be in order, numerical order. So once you get that first one, you turn that corner, okay, there's 1, 2, 3. But maybe a 2-inch letter would, or a number would be,
I think the
Let us
three.
test them, then we'll really
Yeah,
know.
test
Right.
it.
Yeah,
I
that's a
don't
good
think there's
idea.
anything wrong with
That's
the
the best way to do it.
It's just the larger sign. But
Let
a
us test
3-inch
them, Bobby. Once
nice
we
and
test them,
tight.
we'll know.
I think 3 makes sense.
and take them, put them on,
We'll try them in the
some
neighborhoods,
dock
and we'll
road.
try them on the dock road.
Yeah.
It's only gonna take an hour, we'll do it.
All right, sounds good. Does anybody else out in the audience have any questions, concerns about what we talked about tonight? Okay.
I have a question, one more thing I'm thinking to save money. Would it be cheaper if, because everybody's got to come to pick up their sign, whatever. Would it be cheaper to buy the backer board and just the reflected numbers and you just stick them on as?
That's what I thought you were gonna do.
No, you order.
That is what we're gonna do.
Oh, okay, I thought you were ordering new.
Oh, no, no, that
Oh,
would be
wonderful. I
No,
thought, that's why.
So that was a
Well,
logistical nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
No, says, oh, yeah, I want to get my sign,
So that,
Okay,
we
all
have to
right.
fix the numbers and we'll set it
Because we
up.
never,
so Sylvia, that's why I talked about the 8-inch signs for 2 numbers or 1 number, and
Smaller.
and the taller signs for 3 numbers. And
Or
if
4
they'll be blank, there's just a bunch of black ones, and they stick the numbers on as they come along. I think the numbers should be uniform, then whatever, it's 2 inches, 3 inches.
I think it'd be a lot easier for all of us to see them.
yeah.
We're the ones that are gonna have to look for them.
Well, test it out and let us know.
Yeah. We just have to have Sherry grab, see if he can grab a couple of different sizes from
Absolutely.
that company.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, sounds good, thank you.
Okay,
Sheriff,
thank you.
Chief, Fire Department.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Okay. Now for the main event.
Drum roll.
Discuss proposed farm viability ordinance amendments regarding crop farm. All right, Harvey.
So it's been about a year, I think, since we split the wind energy conversion system ordinance out of here at your request to make it freestanding. So we kind of were focused on that, and we sort of, we can take some responsibility on myself. We let this slide a little bit. There aren't very many things in this ordinance change, but these are the things that we worked with the farmers on. And we came up with that issue of crop farm. And then we had, a lot of the farmers said that they really don't need that out of the tax number for any of their purposes. So it was just a paperwork shuffle for them, so we took that out as being a requirement. They all have their 1040Fs, with the federal government, so they're still, they qualify as a farmer that way. Then we had discussion with several about the retail sales floor area, and so we added crop farming. We gave them 600 square feet, and we took the large farms and moved that up to 2,000.
What was it before?
1,200. And I can remember the conversation with Anthony Coloni, somebody that I think we all are glad he's in town. And he built to the 1,200 square feet that was in there. He would have built it bigger when he first built it, 11, 12 years ago. And would like the ability to expand. He didn't say for sure that he was going to do it, or he's going to do it right away.
Yeah.
But he's got a lot of kids in the family and stuff, and a bigger operation would be more viable. And then we had just a little thing we added in here about slaughterhouses. So
About what?
slaughterhouse, when you're raising animals yourself, we originally required you had to process it, I think, right on the farm, is the way we had it. And we have a nice system in the state here now. I use it myself for my animals. I go up to the USDA slaughterhouse in Johnston, and then they slaughter and they ship the animal down to Wesley Packing. And they've already got the order. They cut it up to order, they package it, they tell you what cut of meat is, the name of the farm it came from, what the weight is, the date, that sort of stuff. And so it's a nice system that really works for small farms that, not too many people really want to do their own butchering and freezing and cutting. So I think, and then the only other thing we did was, since we're making the changes anyway, we had a discussion, we saw that, because we have something in the ordinance about riding academies and tax shops, and we just said, well, there's really no reason to have a tax shop that runs riding academy. We didn't want, and this was, one was meant to support the other. We didn't want a freestanding tax shop, so we tightened that up actually. And I think that's just kind of a summary of.
And this was a collaboration, right, Harvey, with you folks and a bunch of farmers, right?
Absolutely. We had a number of workshops with farmers. We had a pretty good crowd. initially, and so this, in the original ordinance, the same thing. It was really, we always said that what would help you, I mean, we stimulated them with some ideas because we got to know how the town government works. But the whole idea was how can we support the farms and how can we do it in such a way we don't regret allowing something that comes back to bite us. So we tried to, and I think we've been very successful with the farms here in town over the last 15 years now.
Sure.
Sounds like I'm in agreement with all the changes that you made. Seems pretty reasonable.
There's one variance problem that I saw.
Yeah.
I
Can we start with the first page and then
Yes.
just go through? I have a question on the crop farm, since it's 2 acres, and that would obviously mean it's in an R1 zone, right?
No.
Well, it's 2 acres,
RFR 80.
so this is, where does it say it's only R480?
Well, it's here.
R1 is usually
Well,
an
you
acre.
can have a 2 acre lot, not one.
Yeah, but it's usually.
I don't
You're
think
right.
it exists in the whole town,
I don't think it does. either.
because it was developments that were done in for specific
So
needs.
there's
So they're
no-
small, very small
So
lots,
there's no-
and they're R1. I'm in an R1.
Right, but so there's no R480s that are 2 acres?
No,
R1 you're saying.
R1 is
R1,
what?
Right.
What?
I don't think 20,000.
Well,
I think
20,000 is R1.
I believe it's 20,000.
Because I have an acre and a quarter.
I've got 3/4 acre and I'm in an R1.
Yeah, so there are no 2 acres in R480.
And we could check that to make sure.
Yeah.
No.
Say that again.
No.
Right, so an R1 cannot be a farm, even though it has 2 acres.
If,
Okay, what we said here is 80,000 square feet.
Right,
So to be 80,000 square, as Tom and somebody was just saying, it was, to be 80,000 square feet and be in an R1 zone, you know, because most
and be
everything
a
around
farm, and be a crop farm.
it. If you've got 80,000 square feet.
Exactly, if you're in an R1 and you have 80,000 square feet, you can be a crop farm.
By the way this
By
is
this
written.
way this is written. And I think, I would have a problem with that. If everybody feels like it doesn't exist, maybe it doesn't, but I'd have a problem with that. I don't want a farm in an R1. And the other thing, it doesn't say no animals. It just says crop. It needs to say no animals, no
And
rabbits
yet,
and
the farm
chickens.
products are not okay for this
Yeah.
farm.
Right. This is just
well,
no animals.
getting on the word products, can we change the word products to produce? Big diff.
I don't think it matters.
Well, first of all, we knew what we want to do.
No, I mean, there's a
Hold on.
different way to do it, that's all I meant.
Produce is something that's grown on the farm. Products, I can walk my farm products and bring it onto my farm and open up a store and sell farm products, such as pitchforks or hay balers or whatever.
They want to expand their operation here, and I think that's what's going to allow them. If you
Well,
have products and not produce, anything they produce, they probably could sell it by the farm.
But are we allowing a business in an RFR 80?
Not a farm, but we're trying to help the farmers.
Oh,
That's what this whole thing is about.
I'm all for helping the farmers, absolutely.
Hey, listen, I'm the only one that grew up on a farm. Well, we got a farm
I
here.
worked on
We
one,
got a
so
farm
I
here,
don't think
okay?
Anyway.
The crop farm is fine, but to have them, allow them to have animals and produce manure,
Yeah.
and even produce compost and sell it, and sell the manure, and sell the compost on 80,000 feet, and then have the animals there, because you could have a calf that you grow for meat. That's okay, that's allowed on a crop farm. We already know what happens recently in our town, in Exeter. People in Exeter, for instance, one farmer mad at the other one, they're gonna have a wedding, so they dump a bunch of chicken crap on the property line, and there are flies everywhere, and they ruin this beautiful wedding. People want the country, but when they move in, they don't think that my neighbor over here, over there, they're gonna have chickens and this and that. It's not the chickens that are so bad, it's gonna be the smell. They could have pigs.
So what do you want to
So
change?
what I want to change is the crop farm should be able to grow whatever they want in the garden.
Right.
Sell their garden products,
But
but not animal products.
It needs to say no animals.
See, I have a different view on that. I mean,
I don't see a reason why you can't have a set number of chickens for fresh eggs.
Dude, don't get caught up on just chickens yet.
Well,
Yeah, but that's
that's,
that's
part
not
of
a
his
farm.
point.
I mean, the thing is, I mean, the
This is
cities,
farm.
the cities have chickens allowed.
I don't think that's a problem. If they're having 3 chickens and they're for their personal use, not a problem. It's when it's a farm.
And they want to
this is
sell
a
it,
crop
they need
farm,
more
they want to
chickens.
sell it. Then they're gonna need more than 3 chickens to make money.
Okay,
But
so
no,
we're.
So what a limited number shouldn't be a
No,
problem.
that's a different thing on
Okay,
our
all right.
work.
So where do you draw the line?
So where do you draw the line?
Hey,
These
hey,
things,
hey,
you
uh,
can't have farm
Who's gonna go
animal
down and count
products.
the chickens? Who's gonna go down and count the chickens every week to make sure there are 14 chickens?
All the time, because somebody in an R1 zone has taken it upon themselves to get chicken.
Or
And
rabbits.
it causes a problem, like,
Rabbits.
it causes a problem with the neighbors, there's a smell, they're
They're
on
in
the
the
property, they
You're right.
crow.
See, no roosters.
RFR 80 is rural farm,
No
no residential.
Right.
That's where your farms are supposed to be.
And R1 is residential,
Residential.
period.
Correct.
So,
Does the zoning usage table forbid farming on
I think if you ask Sherry, she would say you can't have that.
Because that-
That's, we just had that big deal
We
with
did.
the alpacas. So obviously, you can't have animals, you can have
Rabbits.
pets.
right,
You
so
can't have animals,
so
you
it's
can't have
already
farm
forbidden.
animals.
I think to solve it, if you just don't have it in R1,
So what we could do is we could combine 80,000 square feet in no R1. Just insert 8,000 feet not in R1 or
Right.
something like, I mean,
Right.
we can come up with that basic kind of wording. It would solve that.
But, and no animal products.
Right, now, I just wanted to mention,
Crops, yeah.
I want to mention, earlier when we were doing the 911, and when Ronnie finally said, we'll get some signs, and we'll go put them up, and we'll look at them, we'll try to see what works. And one of the things that we did working with the farmers is, for the crop farm, our example was the Grays, Judy Gray, and they have some animals. They're on the corner of Cananchett Road.
What's their size?
They are 2 acre.
Are they 80,000 or are they 2 acre?
Well, I'm sorry, they meet the 80,000.
Okay, that was a question I had. and didn't
I don't know if they're 80,000 even or more, but they're not 3 acres. They're somewhere in 2 acres or less.
so there's.
So when is the
And I'm just saying we use them as an example of kind of what we were looking at and what would be the impact and when would that be inappropriate.
I don't think they're R1 though.
No, they're not.
No, they are.
But they have animals.
But we
I'm
all
discussing
know-
the animal part right
We
now.
all know there are problems in this town, in Richmond, in Charlestown, Exeter, where they have problems with neighbors that, for whatever reason, don't get along, or it's a new thing, and they can put materials on the property line. I mean, there's this fighting and domestics, and it's just gonna make it worse, and we don't wanna make it
No.
worse. You don't want people thinking farming
So if we
is
just put
bad.
no R1, then that's
So
it.
no animal products. You
Amen.
can't have animals on 80,000 feet.
Okay, well, I mean,
Sylvia.
on that same thing, the Grays, for instance, I think they have more,
They're not selling their
they're
animal
not selling the
products.
animal meat,
That's right.
they're,
It's petting zoo.
there you go. That's
But
what
you
I'm
can't
saying.
sell, the crop should not be as
But
good.
even a petting zoo, you still have scent, you still have the problem with an R1 or if it's, and I just think a crop farm should have no animals.
All right, so we've already, we're gonna exclude R1.
Okay.
I'm perfectly comfortable with that.
Also-
You okay with that?
It's already excluded.
Well, we're gonna exclude it specifically.
In the
as referred
ordinance.
in here.
And
Yeah.
And just say,
It's a moot question.
it's not what's going to happen.
Oh, no, that's right.
So we'll word it, we can word it, I mean, it's very clear from the council that
No R1.
that you want no selling of animal, products, meats and stuff.
Or raising of animals.
Well, now, the Grays have the little animals people
They do.
come and pet, and stuff, and some of those animals might be there for years.
Right.
They already have them, I don't, they're 2 acres, I think they can.
Well, they're grandfathered in them, this is something we're doing. It's just, it needs to have.
They're not a good example, Harvey.
They're really
Their
not.
Their lots are R80. They're not R1. They don't have
We're
much-
not, we already excluded our
No, I
one.
know that, but you keep referring to the Grays, but I don't think that they really fit into this example. They're okay with doing what they're doing as far as I'm concerned.
RFR 80 is 2 acres, 80,000 feet and more.
Right.
So that's
What
what
Barbara was talking about is these small 2 acre lots, which is RFR 80.
That's right.
I wouldn't want manure being piled up next door.
Or
On 2 acres of land.
Somebody,
So you need to set that type of sales into a larger farm
Yeah. But we've
with
also
more
had,
acreage.
All right,
That
so-
stuff can be,
yeah.
you could.
So if we're agreeing with that, what I'm asking is an example, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna bring Grace up again. They don't raise and slaughter their animals and sell the meat. It's kind of like a little petting thing right there.
Right.
Obviously, they're drawing, you know, they're looking to draw, and I mean, sometimes I see a busload of kids
Yeah,
there or
but
something.
that's-
And so they're obviously not in their own financial interest to have a big manure pile and, you know, all that sort of stuff there.
But the next one might be.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we've
if we
had
can limit
that,
it to
we've had
the
rabbit
meat.
problems already.
If I wanted to get a pile of manure to put on my property line, I don't have any farm animals, I could get it, and I could do it, and it wouldn't take any more than a phone call. I mean, it's not like,
Right.
we're not trying to legalize dumping feces next to your neighbor,
Right.
we're just, so, I mean, what people could do with it,
Yeah.
like if they're really, really angry and want to start a feud, is one thing, but I mean, is that what we should be?
it's one thing if you bring it in for yourself.
Yeah.
I bring it in every 2 years. I truck come in and dump me a load of manure, cow manure right in the middle of my garden, and I go out and rototill it all in.
Right.
But it's not for sale.
But
I'm not selling it.
Well,
Can I use,
There's a difference in.
John, I'm going to give you an idea of what can happen on 2 acres. You say, okay, you can have some chickens, but we don't tell them how many chickens. Next thing you know, you got a half-acre hen house with 1,000 chickens in there because this guy's going to make a big bunch of money on eggs. Well, that's no good for the neighbors. You know, it's noisy, it's smelly, and you get chickens all day, you know, all day long. So this is what could happen.
I'm not gonna head off every possible scenario.
I-
We're just
well,
trying to
yeah.
get some common ground.
So-
We have to cover our butts on this.
Yeah.
I don't,
sure.
And so
I don't
even if-
recall
What
any
happened with the
farmer.
solar thing? We started with an ordinance and we realized there's some issues with it.
So
So
we
it's always a
don't-
work in progress, guys. It's
Right,
never
but-
gonna be perfect.
So we
I
know
know, but
it's an
then
issue.
the problem is once we write this and we implement it,
Yep.
now we gotta change it. Everybody that's there already is
Grandfather, right, absolutely.
No.
So you can't change their, what they're doing. That chicken farm is still there.
Yep.
Because you can't change it because you change the ordinance.
And zoning had real problems
Not
with
this
rabbits.
scenario. That's-
Oh,
Zoning
yeah.
has rabbit problems on the.
Well, I'm just saying, you
Let
know,
me tell you,
somebody's gonna do it.
something.
if they
At
do
one
it,
time, speaking on Dave's thing, one time we started with 6 chickens.
Yep.
And 2 roosters. We bought incubators and we started hatching eggs.
Yeah.
By the time I got done, we had 45 chickens
Yeah,
on
yeah.
my acre and a quarter. And I just got sick of it because we had so many eggs, they were eating up so much food,
Mhm.
it was costing me more money than, so we gave every chicken away.
So.
So I haven't had chickens since then,
Right.
but I'm just telling you, that's how it happens, right? We started with a few, and it just kept growing and growing and
do that
growing.
now, though. I can have chickens if I want.
Okay, so crop, I think 3 of us have at least agreed, it needs to be no R1 and no animals, no animal product.
Okay, can I bring up a legitimate use case for animal products? So one of the things that farms do is they grow things and they also bring other things in to add to their existing crops and then they create a shop. So Maloney, for example, doesn't make his own ice cream. No. Right? He buys the ice cream and resells it. It's
Right.
associated with the farm.
Right.
Festival Farm buys eggs from the neighbors and they sell that animal product in their farm store. And they also have apple crisp mix and a bunch of other
Yeah.
farmy stuff. That's selling animal products, is that allowed?
But it's R480.
It is our
Right,
Yeah.
so it doesn't count.
Well-
We're dealing with
Well-
R1.
Well, sure.
No, R1 is out of it.
Out of it.
Don't
Right
say,
in here.
don't let me say I want to
That's fine.
We've excluded R1, so
Yes.
there's no
But
issue.
it's still, no.
Tom, some folks have some issues with RFR.
I have a question for the definition of farm products on the first page, crop farm, excuse me, and then farm product. And if you look at farm product, it says livestock products, compost, poultry, eggs, and dairy products. Now, where does dairy come from? Are they gonna have a cow
Or more.
What if they
on the
buy
crop
milk
farm?
Because
from
they
Mount
can't.
Paz and bring it over, there, just as a compliment to what they're selling?
But that doesn't say it, it's defining what a farm product is, and what I'm gonna ask the council to do is look at the definition and decide what in there, all that definition goes to large farms and medium farms, 15 acres, 50, whatever, and that's great. But to now allow 80,000 square feet and you can have dairy products, so that means you
can have a
can have a cow.
Right.
Can you
I
have
don't-
more than
I don't-
one
I don't
cow?
read it that way.
How many cows?
I know you don't read it that way, but
But
it
that's
is
the
how
truth.
it's read.
Yeah.
But it is the
It's not the
word.
truth.
It
I don't
allows
think
an individual to have a cow or to go buy milk and sell the milk. I mean,
That's right. I
It's
don't
a
know.
big
Either
difference,
way.
Sylvia.
yeah, but the
Cow
neighbor
versus
down
going
there,
around bars
but
and
the
buying
neighbor
milk.
down there might buy the milk and the neighbor over there will buy the cow. You can't, unless you tell
You
them.
guys, in my opinion, you're getting too granular with this stuff.
No, we're
No,
not
I'm
saying.
just saying, I think if you think of it in a broader perspective, like we're just trying to help them complement what they do, what they
We
do
wanted to
make.
help the farmers. The farmers have lots of land.
That's
Now
right.
we're talking about everybody.
Well, no.
Yeah, everybody.
Yes.
Just
we
about
are.
All it
everybody,
takes
not
is
our
two
one, but everybody
All it
else
takes
that
is
has
2 acres, all of a
our
sudden you can call yourself a crop farmer.
You got it.
And do farm, forest, and open space. Oh boy, there go your taxes. But no, I mean, I think,
Yeah, that's just too
Can
small
we
for
just-
certain
yeah,
products.
let's just move on.
But I can't see where you can jump to conclusions about having a cow.
Oh.
If somebody has a small.
I would, if I had a crop farm and it said dairy products,
I have a cow.
I'm gonna get a cow, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, poultry, I'm gonna get a chicken.
No, I would, I mean, if you have other things
Because
that.
you're not a farmer.
That's
No,
right.
but I'm saying, if you have other products that you make, okay, and want to sell, and folks will say, oh geez, I wish you had some milk. I
Wish you
gotta
had
go
cheese
to
or whatever.
Cumberland Farms now because they don't have any milk.
Right.
You know, if they brought it in, I'm just saying,
It's not
from
a-
that perspective, just adding to the suite of
Well,
products
the
that
other
we
thing,
sell.
the other thing is
I think
too,
there's a distinction.
But
with,
That's-
with milk, milk's gotta be pasteurized and
Right.
homogenized
So,
and all
right,
that other
I'm just
stuff,
saying.
so I mean,
If we made a distinction
so
between
you
buying
wouldn't be
some.
selling milk on the farm.
But Frank,
From, I mean, if you got a,
in all fairness, can we move on because you're the only one who is disagreeing.
No, I know, but I want to make the distinction between, you know, jumping over to having a cow and actually adding.
We are dealing with farmers,
I
not
realize that.
2-acre hobby farms.
All I'm
These are
saying
hobbies.
is if we can make a distinction between adding to the suite of products that you sell versus, you know, being literal and saying, oh, we have, if you sell dairy, you have to have a cow. I don't
It's
think that
written,
that's,
it's written.
no, I think that we can make it the way we want it. I think if we make that distinction, for me, it would help them as farmers to be able to offer honey. Maybe they don't want to have, maybe they don't want to have.
fine.
Well, I know, but
Well,
I'm saying, I'm just saying,
Hives.
the distinction would help you guys, because then you're not being so literal, right? And it would actually help the farmers.
Have you ever lived next to somebody that had a bunch of chickens and had never cleaned the pen? Have you ever lived next to them?
And then
Have you?
You're right.
Yes or no?
No, they always clean them.
My
You're right.
grandmother was a
I cleaned mine.
That's
No, it's not,
No.
because
You guys
you
are not
live-
seeing my point.
Oh, no, we're
you're not
not.
seeing ours.
Oh, I am.
I've been there.
You guys are
and
looking at it
have-
very literal.
and when
I'm
you
just
have
looking.
chickens and it's.
I'm not saying you don't want to keep it literal, but I'm saying you
I
want to
see
make a
both
distinction.
sides.
You want to make a distinction between my point and your point.
I understand.
So if I have a small farm like the Grays and want to have, buy milk and have it in the freezer in case when they get eggs, they want to get milk, that's my distinction. I'm not saying you have to jump to the conclusion that they're going to have, because it says dairy, they're going to have a cow. That to me, I think you can
It's
have.
possible.
You can, but I think if you make that distinction,
If you make the distinction in crop farm that you can have no animals or animal products, you would not
but
have
you
dairy.
can sell.
But no, you would not have dairy products because that's an animal product. And it's.
So eggs,
Yes.
but I mean, I don't
eggs
think,
and
I mean,
poultry. Yeah.
I don't think that's,
It's a
that,
crop farm, it's supposed to raise produce, lettuce.
see, I already have a thing about chickens. I mean, you can have.
Barbara
three or four
just
chickens.
on that, I forget now, it's been so long how we came up with the Sutherland Crop Farm, but maybe that was to indicate a focus, but we started out with mini or micro farm or something like that, I think, and people didn't quite that didn't click with anybody very well, so I think we borrowed this from some ordinance that existed someplace else maybe or something.
I think this makes everything a hobby farm. It's a hobby. 2 acres is a hobby. It's not a real farm. We're trying to help real farmers with real problems and real needs. That's a hobby. And so we can make it very distinct and say, look, you can do this, but you really can only do it this way.
The Grays is not a hobby, it's a business.
It is a business, but they do other things than
No,
farm.
all I'm saying is that a distinction can be made
Yes,
between
you
your
can.
point and my point.
But we can't, the distinction you're not seeing is the idea of animals and animal products.
I understand what your concern is, and I'm not saying to remove it. All I'm saying is to incorporate if they want to have other products there, that they don't want to make on premises.
Sure, they can definitely.
That's what I'm
do that.
saying, that's all I'm saying, is incorporate both, that's all.
So maybe we could come up with some wording that would.
I'm not saying get rid of their concern, I'm just saying add more.
We didn't have anybody.
I understand what you're saying, but if somebody wants
Something that would be a
Yeah, good
compromise
point.
proposal
Raise-
to
good point.
raise animals.
Right.
So we don't have any, it's not like I don't think anybody with, any of the farmers would have a problem with that because none of them, nobody that was in that small size like the Grays indicated, I don't remember anybody saying, I'm gonna raise rabbits and chickens and sell the meat.
But they
Okay, so I'm saying, okay, let's
Yeah.
address it.
Maybe we
Come up with it.
It's
or
so
maybe
easy.
we can-
You go along with how we, what Sylvia said, maybe we should stop with just crops, which doesn't include any animal products. Just say crops on these crop farms, okay? And then as time goes on and we think to ourselves, well, it wouldn't be too bad if we allowed them to put bees in there for beehives and honey. Okay, let's throw that in there too. And we can.
And maybe in 100 years, they'd be all up to speed, right? By the time they have all this stuff, they retire. I think we can get it all right, or sort of right.
Maybe in 100 days they can get it all right.
I doubt it.
Right.
So, all right, so obviously it seems that we're down to one of the several topics in here, and it's the crop farm.
Yep.
So, and we know it's not going to be allowed in R1. Specifically, it's going to say that. So, it's got
I'd like to,
strong comments on your concerns about animal products, and I think we can figure out a way to live
there's
with that.
something in there that I knew was somewhere, and I found it on the front page, where it says farm product, you go down 3 lines,
Mhm.
you go to the end where it says honey and beeswax,
Mhm.
and then it says that are produced on the farm.
Right.
So if you're not producing dairy products on the farm, you can't be selling dairy products at a crop farm, because I mean, you can't, in other words, you're not gonna go down to the store and buy milk and then sell the milk because it's not produced on the farm.
Yeah, what if they want to?
I'm just telling you what the
Well,
ordinance
no,
means, that's all.
Yeah.
It's not a final ordinance, so that's.
Oh,
what
no,
we're-
so I just wanted to point that out.
I just think it helps them by keeping that distinction.
So anyway, I'm hoping that it's livestock products, compost, because we don't want them on just 80 acres producing enough compost that they can sell it.
Correct.
I think we put that in there.
Yeah, I think we do too.
And I think dairy products should be included that we don't want it. So we don't want livestock, in my opinion. We don't want compost, we don't want manure, we don't want dairy products. If it says manure anywhere, we don't want it. I think that's on the later page.
What if, I mean, just one way, what if I worked on this and ran it past Sylvia first? I think she's most adamant on that.
Oh, I'm pretty adamant.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, of limiting it.
She's raising more negative.
So we would create a.
Not negative at all.
I mean, I'd be happy to look at anything.
Oh, I know,
you said.
yeah, right,
That's
that's
fine.
I'm just trying to.
Restricted.
I'll trust you.
Restricted, thank you.
Jonas,
Can I add something? Are we going to the next page?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, next page. I don't have anything in particular on the next page, although those are pretty small numbers.
I do, on 2. Yeah, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's about 5 paragraphs down. It says real case or
Oh, I think that was.
shadow.
Oh, yeah.
So that's just a mistake.
That
Oh, all right.
That was with the
I
wax.
read right past that, I don't know how many times.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, so you just
Yeah, that's
do
coming
that.
out.
That's all.
Okay.
Oh, and I did see, another typo glitch on the next page.
Okay, next page.
553, farm retail sales, you got an A, you got a B, you got a C, and then paragraph-wise, the next one says E, it should be D, and I see why, because the line above it was a D that happened to fall right there.
Oh, yeah,
That's in the narrative and not in it, so anyway, that's just a little.
I had a question. On the crop farm, you made it 600 square feet, which is a 2-acre lot, has a 30 by 20 foot building allowed.
For a crop farm.
For a crop farm. So it's 2 acres. You have a house on that, possibly,
Yeah.
and a barn, possibly, or a garage. And then we're going to allow another 30 by 20 foot building on 2 acres?
As long as they got the setbacks, right? Who cares? I mean,
Right.
it's their land.
Yeah, but
It's
if
their
it's 2
land.
acres,
Doesn't
it's
matter.
amazing. So
If he wants to put it right, build that whole thing into a house, what do we care? It's his
It's not
property.
telling people what they can and can't do.
There's
20 foot.
zoning, I think, has a 15% limitation on impervious surface.
So they may
Oh,
not
does
be
it?
able
So-
to do it.
They may not be able to unless they have, maybe they have more
Yeah,
than
more than
one.
one.
They have 4 acres.
Again, we used Gray's, Jay and Jimmy Gray's example in their little retail area that they have there now is 600 square feet.
Okay,
And thought it seemed to fit and be
It worked
appropriate.
out.
all right,
You know, so we went with that.
that's reasonable.
So up above on 553, number 4, not number 4, below number 4, it's B. Upon any crop farm is defined here in the retail sales activities are listed below and permitted by right. And of course, that would have to be changed.
Yeah.
Because it's B.
Yeah.
These things, yeah. So number 1, the sale of farm products. You have to identify what they can do, so they'll know.
So you want to limit that more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be limited.
Identify,
What can-
identify.
And they can grow vegetables, you know.
Well, what's the difference between products and produce? Why should we say
Well,
produce?
But
No, not
according
necessarily.
to this though, you go, when it says farm products, you go back to the definition. What does the definition say? Whether it's right or wrong, whatever it says, that's in the ordinance, so.
If we use produce, we should have a definition for it, so it should be.
So we need,
should-
you
should
need
be
to list
something
what
about
they
farm
can
produce
do,
versus farm product, I guess.
or what they can't do. They can do everything except, I don't know. I'm sure you can tinker with it.
So the farm products, the farm-related products, can they be brought in from off-site? Or do these products have to be produced on-site?
I would
It says
think you
produced
would-
outside.
It says on site.
Does it say on-site?
On the first page, it says that.
Oh, back to the first page.
That was my whole point, that, like I said,
Okay,
there
on-site.
should be a distinction made.
So it's on-site, that's fine.
Yeah, 'cause it says that on farm-related products,
Do you-
manufactured, constructed, manufactured on the farm.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, number E, farm retail sales building. The sales of farm products and farm-related products may be conducted on a farm. And number 1 says within a principal dwelling. Does,
Primary residence.
Within your house.
right, it means your house. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure I would want it to be in someone's home. That's either a commercial business. I don't know, you know, it's not something you can easily go into and out of, like a farm stand or a farm building.
I think the
It's
distinction is,
a private home.
no, Bob, I think what they're trying to say, correct me if I'm wrong, the primary residence is really what you're saying, right?
Right, that's what I'm saying. This says
Well,
principal
yeah, but it's just
dwelling.
occupancy, I think that's what they're addressing.
I don't know anybody that's actually doing this, and we've been at this with this ordinance for 14 or 15 years.
I think what I-
But that was something that they, they asked, they must have asked for
Can you
back
go
at that
into my
time.
home
Well,
privately?
think about all the right here in Hopkinton City, there was a day when the house was where the post office was, the house was where the general merchandise.
So it's going to be an
was,
open door, so people can walk in, not have to ring and
We've
knock.
got professional people that have a home with a law office this or
There's a lot of
something in
things
their home.
upstairs if it's a
And-
two-story.
And
lower
of course, you
level.
get, you may get into ADA and all those kind of things if you
If you
get
start
to that
doing
point.
commercial.
But those are things to be worked out with the building
That's
inspector.
like, Harvey, you may remember, C.T. Barber's store right in Potter Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, they lived upstairs. But there was a little
They
grocery.
used to live upstairs with the bakery,
Yes.
with the family.
So I think that's just a decision, to me at least, it's just a decision that that person could choose to make. I mean, I can remember, some little bakery and stuff that was over on 91,
Oh, yeah.
Walked up to the front.
Oh, yeah, the little pink house.
Yeah.
Fredette, this is Fredette.
Oh,
This is Fredette's show maker.
Walk in and back out.
Okay,
So can I back up to farm products for just a second? Just so I understand the direction of the council. So in the case of Poloni Farm, where he's selling ice cream, are you proposing that he stop selling ice cream?
Yeah,
and
that's
no
what I'm saying.
longer
He
be
doesn't
able to
grow it
sell-
there, he doesn't make it there.
Exactly. Then
That's
it's
my
not
point.
made with any of the
That's my
things that
point.
are
but
farm.
he's not a crop farm. He's a full farm. He's a real farm, like an intermediate or large farm.
So larger farms are allowed to sell
Yeah.
things like ice cream
Exactly.
or
And he's a
candy
larger
bars.
farm.
Like
He's
crop
not
farms
a
are-
crop, right, just not a crop farm.
Well, how large is it? I don't
So-
know, you know how many acres it's covered on?
Oh, yeah.
Real big.
2019.
Yeah.
All of his
Yeah.
fruit for his prize.
Yeah, that's on.
The berries, the
But
cheese.
to John's point,
Oh,
it
yeah.
isn't.
But he doesn't, I'm sure he doesn't make flour, I'm sure.
No.
So-
No, but it's
And so if I go back to using the other example, the other side of the spectrum is Festival Farm. They're no longer allowed to sell eggs or anything they didn't make there, but it's also a farm product.
because it's a crop.
Well,
farm.
because all of a sudden they become a commercial venture.
But are
They
they-
become a
They're
store,
already grandfathered in.
They're
They
grandfathered.
become another mom and pa's.
They're already
But
They're
grandfathered.
already grandfathered.
But even if they wanted to do
I think
this,
they're doing it illegally.
oh, no, but what if they wanted to do this, let's say there's no farm there, it doesn't
No,
exist.
I don't wanna do that.
We passed this,
I've been there.
You're not putting them
no,
out.
no, no,
This is
no,
a
no, we
real farm.
passed this, and then he comes and he's like, I'd like to do this, and what can I do?
300
He can't have livestock products, so if you need to, you get into detail, compost, manure. But when it comes to dairy products, if you want to make sure that they're allowed to bring other, like ice cream,
Cheese.
or they get the cream,
Yeah.
buy the cream to sell cheese or something. If you're gonna allow something, make sure that the ordinance allows it, and if you have to get into detail, then you'll have to get into detail.
I got a solution for it.
I don't want to put them on a
They-
business, John.
Right, right.
I don't think you do either, I'm not suggesting that you do.
Why can't you do farm products that do not constitute a nuisance to adjoining property?
Well, that's a easy word. What's the
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
manure, yeah.
Some people like roosters.
Your level of
Some
tolerance
Well,
may be different
so-
from
so
Bill's
there's-
level of
There's a
tolerance.
lady down that lives down by Potter Hill Bridge.
Yep.
And every year when Lewis Farm spreads the manure,
All that.
she,
We hear that every year
She
too.
puts up,
oh
she
my God, it smells.
She
It's
puts
like
up
welcome to the
roasted.
country.
Yeah.
puts up all
You
that.
know, it's-
So I would think that since they're selling ice cream that's pre-made off the premises, they must have a Department of Health
Mhm.
Oh,
to
really?
do
Must.
that,
They do.
because they're more of a commercial
No.
operation
Correct.
than.
Correct.
Is,
Absolutely.
is the council empowered to grant exceptions?
No.
You can,
I don't want
you
to,
can,
you don't want to
you
go down
can,
that.
whatever you.
Well,
right
on a
here,
case-by-case
right in here.
basis.
No, no,
Okay,
don't
yeah.
go down that road.
Yeah, it's
That's why we
So
have-
I just have a suggestion, because I think that problem can be solved with drafting along the lines when Sylvia was emphasizing how important it is for the definitions that are in the ordinance. We can add to any one of those definitions we choose a sentence that says something like, nothing herein shall prohibit this category from importing the following products: ice cream, milk, cheese, something like that. You can put it right there,
Sell it.
and
That's
it solves a lot of those problems,
That's
just
right.
in the definitions.
That would work. That would work.
I'm all for that.
Yeah, I can.
That's
It
a
doesn't restrict
solvable
them, that's
problem.
my whole point. I don't want to restrict them.
Oh, I don't want to take something,
They don't make it on premises.
I don't want to take something away that they've already got, that they've been,
But I understand your concerns about, crazy stuff that happens on
Right.
small parcels.
I don't feel like
I have one more thing.
some ideas, go with it.
On the next page,
Oh, sure.
I wonder if you can add, especially where you're doing, you've added the USDA certified slaughterhouse. And
Where am I?
Next page,
Next page on the slaughterhouse.
number 3.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yep.
Can you add also it's mandated to have the Department of Health as well? That they get some kind of certification from the Department of Health?
We may have to get that anyway.
Not necessarily.
In other words, let's see now,
I
if
have
you're
two-
cooking,
I have
if you're
two things.
preparing foods,
I'm gonna open up
You
the
have to
slaughterhouse.
then you, it is.
Well,
We
You
slaughter.
have to-
Right,
But you
I
are.
have two.
I haven't had any dinner yet.
Neither have I.
That's
I have two reasons. One is, I think we should say mandated by the Department of Health, which I think is just fair across the board. I mean, I just think that they should, if they're going to do anything like slaughtering or eggs or making dairy, the Department of Health oversees all of it anyway. The other issue, mild issue I have with the slaughterhouse is several years ago when we had the mad cow disease in Europe, they traced it back to a central slaughterhouse.
We don't have slaughterhouses.
Yes, we do. We don't have it in town, we have it out.
We used to do it ourselves.
Yeah, they sent it to a central slaughterhouse
Slaughterhouse in town.
who had the
Commercial
problem and it
When
was
there's a
all
bunch of line
farms around.
that
So
are for sale now.
since it's at a USDA certified slaughterhouse, I think that's fine, but I'd also like the Department of Health to have their fingers in there as well.
Anytime, Bob, when they're selling meats or poultry or anything, it has to go through the
And
Department of
dairy,
Health.
same thing.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's commonplace, it has to.
I know.
they have to have
Can't have
that.
one without the other.
We already say USDA certified, which I think is great, just add a certification from the
Right,
Department
so
of
we
Health.
just need to research that and find out exactly what we should say as far as the Department of Health involvement. Assuming there is involvement, it's normal.
Anything to do with food
Yeah,
sales,
they have to.
trust me, it's gotta be,
Right,
the
but
Department of Health comes down,
Boy.
So address number 4.
Oh, well,
by the state for that, and,
that's data, but I.
and you could add Department of Health
And
Department of
That'd
Health
be like,
and Department of
Yeah,
Health.
Department of Health.
I'm gonna get Frank's bad side.
What now?
Watch out, he's getting hungry now.
No, yeah, I know, we're gonna get through this real quick. Under D, number 2 is that prepared food may be consumed at the premises. Monty can't allow people to consume up there because she has got a bathroom in there, a public bathroom. So-
People eat on the porch.
Oh, they eat outside the building, they can eat on the parking lot and the porch, but they can't eat inside the building.
I think she has a couple tables in there.
She's not supposed to, because she doesn't have a public bathroom, that's number
Well,
1.
I don't know.
Anyhow, just keep that in
Anyway,
mind.
all I'm saying is I know there's a table.
Right. All right, right above that, number 1, just because I'm curious, an exception to this is the deli meat, breads, condiments, and bottled or canned drinks. Get rid of the
Where are you?
right?
D1.
D, sale of
D,
food.
it's D,
D1.
D1, oh.
Last sentence. An exception to this is
Oh,
the
I
deli meats, breads, condiments, and bottled water or canned drinks. Get rid of the next 3 words. That may be. Just say canned drinks obtained from off the farm. I don't know why we have to have that may be, right? It makes a difference.
Okay. None of my
So what
problem.
would you like to do, Dave?
Just get rid
Get rid of that.
get rid of the word,
No, not the whole.
get rid of the phrase that may be. I don't want it may be, just simply canned drinks obtained from off the farm. Because let's not have any haziness about may be and may not be. So we get rid of those words. That's fine, I'm done.
Okay, Harvey.
Okay,
You have some
so,
work ahead of you.
so I got some work, I may even have to, I got a solicitor here, on this question or two. And I'll speak with people, if I recall, I'm assuming your question about that, be sure I'm on the same page with understanding what they want. So would we, is there a way that we would avoid going to another workshop if we get this all?
There is one way to do
happy,
it.
or do we?
There is a
would it be
way.
better-
There is a way. You guys come up with something based on tonight's conversation. Anyone who wants, we'll look it over. I mean, you can send it to every council member, we look it over, and then we get back to Frank. We don't discuss it, we just say, Frank, we think it's ready to go to hearing. I mean, yeah, for, not hearing, to set a hearing.
Yeah.
And that's how it happens. Or if we all say to Frank, we gotta have a workshop.
Okay.
Or if we all say, there's just one minor little thing that we could deal with at a council meeting, and then we can set a hearing date. So
I just don't want to eat up any more. of your time.
probably won't need a workshop.
Okay.
No, if it incorporates all the concerns tonight,
Yeah.
we just review it.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank
Let me
you.
tell you, This is the only ordinance that I can recall in this town that never had anybody speak against it when it was first passed. Maybe because we got it.
Oh.
But
We need
state.
more of that.
I know.
So Frank Gormley.
I have your friend Eric, in here.
I believe everybody's been reasonably happy with it being in place for.
But you see how people are eventually reacting to solar panels. Could you imagine if they were also putting up turbines all over town, wind turbines?
Yeah.
You want to talk about people freaking out, that would do
I
it.
was hoping for an opportunity
Yeah.
to promote.
That's hard as
Now that,
Motion to adjourn?
Yes.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Into a-
Rush.